So this is my very spoiler-filled recap of Golden Sun, the sequel to Red Rising. So we know at the end of Red Rising, Darrow aligned himself with the Augustus family, and it's been somewhere between like half a year and a year and a half. Sorry, I don't know exactly, but basically Darrow is at the Academy now, which is like a space warfare kind of institute. And he's been killing it. He's been doing really well. They're basically at what kind of feels like the final. And he is about to win. He thinks he wins, and then Carnus Bologna pulls some shit and basically steals the win from Darrow. And so now Darrow does not obtain the final win at the Institute, and as we all know, Golds really, really care about reputation and power, so this is really bad for Darrow. So with his loss, Darrow is very shamed. Augustus is not happy. He basically seems really weak now, and the Bologna family takes advantage of this. Darrow is like caught unawares, and they have a nice, as Cassius described it in book 1, a circle piss on Darrow. So he not only got his ass kicked at the Academy, now he's been literally pissed on and beaten up. So his stock in Gold Society right now is like rock bottom. Also to note, Pliny is a sniveling little bitch. And he's been, whispering in Augustus's ear and spreading rumors about Darrow and basically also trying to sabotage his image behind the scenes. Pliny really doesn't like that Augustus likes Darrow, and he wants to, have his master's ear back, basically. It's also implied that during this time jump, Darrow and Mustang did share a relationship, but they've since gone their different ways. Mustang is like kind of doing a more political angle with the Sovereign and Cassius, while, Darrow's off doing his war shit, but currently getting pissed on. So due to his terrible reputation now, Augustus is going to sell Darrow in like 3 days. That's all the notice he's given. They yoink his credit cards. He's got nothing going on. So then Victra scoops up Darrow and takes him to a club that's filled with all different kinds of colors, and he meets up with none other than the Jackal. So it turns out that Jackal is amassing his own kind of power, a silent power. He has like communication grids under his control, and he's building up all these like networks for himself. And so he agrees to try and work with Darrow and like help him basically. While in this club, Darrow's looking around and realizes that he recognizes Evie, who was Mickey's like carved up dancer. And he follows her. The Jackal thinks he just wants to bang her, so he has good cover to go talk to her. So after Darrow follows Evie up to a room in this club, she reveals to him that she is working with Harmony, and they've been blowing shit up, basically. And Darrow's really surprised because he doesn't think the Sons of Ares would do something like that. And Harmony tells him that Dancer is dead, and this is basically what they've been doing now. And she wants Darrow to basically take a bomb, strap it to himself, and take it to when he's gonna be like with a whole bunch of prominent golds before he's gonna be sold. And he's like, no, I'm not a terrorist. But then they show him a holo. So if you've wondered this whole time what Io told her sister right before she got hung, we find that out now with Darrow. And it turns out she was pregnant. When she had that surprise for him in the room and she didn't want him to go in, there was actually a crib in there. So she told her sister Dio to not let Darrow see the crib. So he is absolutely destroyed by this. The fact that not only his wife was taken from him, but his child as well. And this basically fuels him into accepting the bomb, and he plans to use it on all the golds when he goes to this meeting. Darrow's doing a lot of like introspection during this time, and he's really starting to think like, is this really what Io would have wanted? He also has a kinship with some of these golds now too. So when he goes and he talks to Rogue, who's supposed to go into this meeting with him, he injects him with a needle and basically like knocks him out. And then he goes to this meeting planning on blowing all these people up, but he decides to be a little more dramatic than that. So Darrow decides, like, this isn't right, this isn't how we should do this. So instead of blowing people up, he jumps onto the table and then confronts the Bologna family, specifically Cassius, and gets him to fight in a duel with him. And everybody thinks Darrow's about to get laid out flat because it's the rumor is that Darrow doesn't really know how to use a razor. So Cassius is going to slice him up because Cassius has turned into an Olympic knight. And so he's really fucking good at using a razor. Little does he know that our boy Darrow has been secretly training with Lorne Arkos and learning the Willowy Way, which is basically like going to train with Luke Skywalker. Like, he's really good with the razor now. He slices and dices up Cassius, cuts off his arm, and he goes to kill him, and then the Sovereign fucks up. So the Sovereign kind of shows her cards by stopping Darrow. She's basically aligning herself with the Bolognas, and then all hell breaks loose because it becomes clear she was going to be okay with the Augustus family being assassinated. So following this debacle with the Sovereign, where she kind of like aligns with the Bolognas over the Augustuses, shit's crazy. Golds are like slaughtering each other in the streets. So a lot of like craziness happens in a short amount of time. Darrow is given the opportunity to align himself with the Sovereign, but instead of doing that, Mustang ends up hooking him back up with the Howlers, so our favorite goblin Severo's back, and crew, and they have this sack with them. They bust Darrow out of this room that the Sovereign was holding him in, and it turns out that in that bag is Lysander, who is the Sovereign's son. So they're basically using Lysander as a safeguard to be able to get in a ship and go. They rescue Augustus and the Jackal and co, who are like basically gunned down and stuck in this pond of water. So they rescue them, but as they're leaving, Aja, one of the Furies, cuts down Quinn, and she is like mortally injured. They grab her, bring her on the ship. They try and save her. Long story short, they can't. I also want to note, during this time, Darrow and Rogue's friendship is super frayed, and Quinn dying right here does not help that at all. And, you know, Rogue still doesn't know why Darrow injected him. He's super confused, so just know there's a lot of distrust happening right now. Tactus is also on board, and he is still that, like, somehow kind of lovable shithead, but he's a duplicitous fucker. So he takes Lysander and yeets off the ship, taking their bargaining chip. Now it's time for Darrow to pull another crazy plan out of his ass. He ends up loading himself into a star shell, which is like, you know, like a mechanized suit, and blasting himself towards one of the Sovereigns, like her biggest ship, basically. He busts in there, he takes over the comms, and he gets the low colors to rise up and revolt against the Golds on board. He takes over the ship, he names it the Pax, and he also has a new ally who's a stained obsidian named Ragnar. So after that victory, Darrow's reputation isn't in the shitter anymore. So then he basically convinces Augustus that they should not settle for, like, you know, being peaceful with the Sovereign. He gets into Augustus's head about how he can be like a king and all this. So now Darrow's kind of like top dog again. So Darrow goes to Lorne's little island to use him as an ally. He kind of forces his hand to be. And here is where Tactus meets his end, because he threatened Lorne's children. And Darrow believed he could change. I believe Tactus can change, but Lorne didn't, and he gutted him. So now we have Lorne on board, but there's a problem. Mustang hails Darrow's ship and says Pliny has staged a coup. Who's surprised that this rat bastard is doing rat behavior, you know? So basically, Darrow concocts another crazy plan. He uses a claw drill to, like, go through the ship, scares the shit out of Pliny and everyone. They're like, what the hell? Darrow's not dead. He has Ragnar with him. He has Lorne with him. Long story short, Pliny does not make it out of that. Now Darrow presents Augustus with another plan. He wants to steal these ships and also steal, like, Academy students to run them, and he wants to go back to Mars and take it back from the Sovereign, and he calls for an iron rain. And this is like when a bunch of Golds go down in those like mechanized suits. Some personal things to note. Along the way, Mustang has been warning Darrow not to trust her brother, not to work with him, but Darrow continues to do so because the Jackal and his ties do benefit Darrow when it comes to these schemes. I forget when exactly this happens, but Severo and Darrow have a moment where Severo's like, just be real with me, just be fucking real, and Darrow admits that he's a Red, and Severo is not surprised. Like, he already knows. He has been working with the Sons of Ares for the past few months. He is aware, and he still supports Darrow, and it's a great moment for their friendship. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead to this Iron Rain, which, by the way, when they were on their way to Mars, Rogue didn't know that Darrow knew where the Sovereign was, so this is like another lie or scheme Darrow has left Rogue out of. So again, their friendship is looking really bad. So anyway, the Iron Rain happens. It's scary as shit. They're all flying down. Tons of golds are dying left and right. And then a problem snags when basically Darrow and his like tight-knit crew go through these like aqueducts or something like that the Sons of Ares have like drilled out for them. So they're supposed to be able to go in their like star shells and go through. But then this low-color girl shows up and drops an EMP around them. So now they're all in these super heavy weighted suits going down into the mud, stuck, dying, drowning. It's bad. Darrow ends up using his like helldiver dexterity to cut himself out of his suit with his razor. He helps Ragnar do the same, and they rescue the other like howlers. Darrow gives Ragnar a razor, and we see pretty quickly who's okay with that and who's not amongst the golds. I'm going to speed through the nitty-gritty details, but basically Darrow's about to capture the Sovereign, and then he sees her board a ship with her Olympic Knights. So Darrow, because he's insane, goes up and jumps on the ship. So once he gets on there, Fitchner is like, I had this boyo. So with Darrow on the ship and everybody wanting to kill him, Fitchner has to blow his cover. And it turns out he knows Darrow is a red, and he not only knows that, he's the one who orchestrated it. Fitchner is Ares. So after escaping from the Sovereign, Darrow wakes up in the medical bay of the Sons of Ares base. So here we learn the truth that Fitchner's wife and Severo's mother was a red, and they did like genetic engineering to be able to have Severo. The board of whatever found out and just like deleted Severo's mom. Like she was just like extinguished. She wasn't even, they don't even consider it a murder. She was like subtracted from the population. And this is what spurned Fitchner to become Ares and start this movement. In order to keep going and keep perspective, Darrow wants to visit home, and not only that, he wants to take Mustang with him and tell her the truth and have her like meet his mother. Obviously nobody likes this, but Darrow won't budge, so they go. And Darrow ends up talking to his mother. She knows it's him. I cried. It was really sweet. And then he shows Mustang the hollow of everything and tells her to meet up with him. But then Severo warns him, like, Mustang's on the move. She's running. It turns out she isn't running. She, like, fooled them with their tracker. She pulls out a gun on Darrow and confronts him. Ragnar ends up aligning with Darrow. He doesn't shoot Mustang. And she ends up not really telling Darrow exactly what she's thinking, and she leaves, and everybody's just kind of holding their breath to see if she'll reveal his secrets or not. So fast forward to the end of the book, and Darrow's preparing to go to his triumph. This is basically where he's going to get like lauded and rewarded for his successful Iron Reign. So he's prepping for that. So Darrow's in a carriage with Rogue on the way there, and Rogue's acting a little weird. And Severo also mentions that like Fitchner isn't there, he can't find him. So Darrow has Severo go and look for his father. And then Darrow walks up to receive this like mask he's supposed to get, which is in a box. And Rogue is holding the box. And then Severo kind of looks around and notices some familiar faces who are bone riders who work for the Jackal. And he feels something is not right. So he opens the box, and we see that Fitchner's head is inside of it. And people start getting stabbed and killed. All this stuff's going on. Rogue is obviously not sympathetic to Darrow and his cause anymore. Clearly the Jackal is not happy with it either. So Darrow gets taken down. We see Victra get taken down. We see Augustus get killed by the Jackal himself. And so at the end of this book, it is not looking good. And Darrow is in the custody of the Jackal. And we go on to the next book.